Hey guys, George at SoundTraxx here, and I know it's been a while since we've done our last Operations 101, but I wanted to come back to the layout and take an opportunity to show you another little aspect of railroading when it comes to train numbers and locomotive numbers and how they're used when it comes to identifying trains. Do you know all about this? Well, let's find out and see what we got in store for you. Now, last time we did it, Operations 101, we talked about the different class lights. And a lot of times the class lights indicated whether the train was a scheduled train or an extra train, or in some cases the rear end pusher as a helper on a regular train. But now, as the railroads progressed into more modern times in the 60s and 70s, somewhere around there, they kind of went away from the scheduled trains except for passenger trains. But now, all the regular freight trains were now classified as extras. And a lot of times the train numbers were labeled as extras with a locomotive number and direction as the train indicator. So in this case, this locomotive would be extra 6009 northbound, and then this would be extra 1538 southbound. So when it comes to the number board lights, they're more than just pretty identifiers to identify the locomotive number so that people can see it at night. It actually indicates the train of record. And so, for example, we'll show you an example of that right here. Let's go ahead and get the trains running. So now we have our SD40-2C for coal service, which is what the Missouri Pacific designated their dynamic brake versions with. But we have this locomotive sitting in the siding, and he's going to wait for extra 1538. And so, in this particular case, locomotive is going to have its headlight on, but dim. But then we're also going to go ahead and turn on the front class lights, and then the front number board lights. And I know it's going to be subtle because of the layout lighting, but go ahead and turn the lights down just a little bit there. You should be able to see that the number boards are illuminated. So I'll turn them off and then turn them back on again. You can see that they're illuminated. So this train would be extra 6009, and you can tell it's an extra because of the clear class lights and then the illuminated number board. Now when we're sitting waiting for our train, we've got our headlight on but dimmed. And so this would be waiting for the meet. Now waiting off in the distance here, we have our train extra 1538. Now as you can see in the video, if you look closely, you can see that the headlight is illuminated and it's bright because it'll be coming down the track. But then it also has the clear class lights illuminated out on the outer edges, and then this Atlas MP15 actually has the number boards with a clear lens as well, so we can illuminate them. Now just to show you, we can turn off the class lights and then turn off the number boards, and we can control those independently. So there's actually 6 LEDs hidden underneath that section there, with 2 for the headlight, 1 for each number board, and of course 1 for each class light. So let's go see this in action. So here we have extra 6009 taking the siding, waiting for the meet with extra 1538. Now, let's not play too much into the fact that an SD40-2 is assigned to an inferior train, but we're going to not worry about that right now. So let's go ahead and get the other train coming. So now we've got our train coming around the bend. Okay, so now we have our train coming in. We have 1538 taking the main line, and then we have the number boards illuminated. So now the engineer in 6009 can see that this is train 1538. That's the one they're waiting for. So as soon as this train clears, then that they know they have now the clearance to continue down the line. Now, following this particular train numbering method, when you're talking about the extras, there are some cases where the lead unit may not necessarily be the number on the train or the locomotive of record. And so in this particular case, I'm going to show a run by here. Let's say the other two engines had to stall, and so we had to send out the helper. We're going to go ahead and bring by this train. And in this case, this train would still be extra 1538, even though you have an MP15 on the front, numbered 1580. But the locomotive on the lead has the headlight on, but as the train passes, you'll notice that the number boards and the lights are on the second unit here, indicating that this would be extra 1538, even though 1580 is the lead unit. Now again, I'm going to encourage you to check out the rules for your own railroad. In this particular case, this would be how the Missouri Pacific would do it. And a lot of times the number boards were really only illuminated on the front because, as one of the old Missouri Pacific retired engineers told me, well, I asked him, I said, did the rear number boards get illuminated? And he said, not really, no. And I said, well, what happens if the crew in the other train didn't catch the lead unit number? He goes, too bad, not my problem. So one of those little fun railroading facts about how the railroads interacted. So therefore it's really important because people's lives are on the line when it comes to understanding and identifying how to identify what train you're waiting for and which one you're not. So this is just a short little quick update on Operations 101 so that you can add a little bit more realism to your railroads. So like I said, I encourage you to check out the rules of your particular railroad and find out what their practices were. Now, of course, a lot of the modern railroading today, they actually have full train symbols that have to do with city of departure, city of arrival, or destination, and then a mixed freight or Z train, which is intermodal, or the type of class of train, and that's how they would identify it. Now, as far as radio communication, that probably would be, let's say, for example, Portland might be PD down to LA, so it'd be PD, LA, MX, whatever numbers identified with train or locomotive number 1580 or whatever the case is that's usually on the lead. And so again, I encourage you to check out the references with your particular railroad, and I'd be curious to hear what your railroad did, so please leave them in the comments below, because I'm always one to learn, and this is how the Missouri Pacific did it as I understood it. And so I'm always willing to learn. So if you have different methods that maybe I could do a video on and show you how to do it, leave us a comment in the section below and I'll be happy to entertain the idea, and I'd love to learn what your railroad did. So guys, that's everything I've got for you this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.